The galactic survey vessel Wandering Star hummed through the void between systems. Its crew, a mixture of species from across the Confederation. In the communal Kachuna space, most species avoided due to conflicting atmospheric requirements. Edon stood alone, humming softly as she chopped vegetables with practiced efficiency. "You're doing it again," Riley said, leaning against the doorframe with his arms crossed. His brown eyes sparkled with amusement as he watched his fellow human work. "Doing what?" Eden asked, not looking up from her cutting board. "Cooking actual food. You know the nutrient dispensers work perfectly fine, right?" Eden snorted. "Perfectly fine at making perfectly bland nutrition paste. I'd rather eat something that tastes like it came from a planet, not a laboratory." Riley pushed off from the wall and approached, peering into the pot where something aromatic bubbled. "What is it this time?" "Vegetable curry. Well, as close as I can get with what we have in storage." She stirred the mixture, releasing a wave of spices into the air. "The Zentari delegation loaded some interesting produce at the last station. I'm experimenting." What neither human noticed was the trio of small, furry faces peering around the corner. The cub's offspring of Commander Thrakes, a towering Carvel warrior, had been exploring the ship's lower decks when an unprecedented scent had drawn them like a tractor beam. The smallest cub, barely reaching 2 feet tall, whispered in their native tongue, "Brother, what is that smell?" "I don't know," the eldest replied, his nose twitching frantically, "but I must have it." The middle cub, always the boldest, took a step forward. "The humans, they're doing something in Carvel Prime." Food was functional. Meat was consumed raw or dried. Vegetation was processed into nutrient blocks. The concept of combining ingredients, applying heat in specific ways, adding substances that served no nutritional purpose but enhanced flavor, these were alien concepts. Literally. Eden lifted a spoon to her lips, tasted, then nodded in satisfaction. "Okay, that's pretty good. Want to try?" Riley accepted the offered spoon, his eyes widening. "Damn, Eden, you could probably start a restaurant on any station in the galaxy, if only the pay wasn't terrible." She laughed, reaching for the container of rice she'd prepared earlier. That's when the cubs made their move. The middle cub darted forward with surprising speed, followed immediately by his siblings. They came to a halt directly in front of Eden, their large ASL 6 of them per cub fixed on the pot with an intensity that would have intimidated most predators. Eden jumped, nearly dropping her spoon. "Whoa, hey there, little ones." Riley crouched down to their level. "Aren't you supposed to be in the family quarters?" The eldest cub ignored him entirely, instead pointing one clawed digit at the pot. "What is that?" His Confederation common was heavily accented but understandable. Eden glanced at Riley, who shrugged. "It's curry," Eden explained slowly. "A type of cooked food." "From Earth cooked?" the smallest cub asked, tilting her head in confusion. "Yeah, you know, we take different ingredients, apply heat, combine flavors." Eden trailed off at their blank expressions. "You've never had cooked food?" All 3 cubs shook their heads in unison. Riley whistled low. "Well, that explains why the mess hall always smells like a hospital." The middle cub stepped forward, drawing himself up to his full, albeit small height. "We wish to test this cooked food. For safety purposes." "Safety purposes?" Eden raised an eyebrow. "Yes, you are members of this ship's crew. If this food is poisonous, we must protect you." The cub's logic was ironclad, even if his true motivations were transparent to anyone with functioning olfactory senses. Eden looked at Riley, who was clearly trying not to laugh. "I mean, it won't hurt them, right? Carvel are omnivores. Their biology is compatible with most carbon-based foods," Riley confirmed, pulling up data on his wrist display. "Though they've never developed culinary traditions." "Never developed?" Eden looked appalled. "That's tragic." The smallest cub was now standing on her hind legs, front paws resting on Eden's knee. "Please, we must taste test." Who could resist those 12 pleading eyes? Eden sighed, reaching for smaller bowls. "All right, but just a little. I don't want your father thinking I'm poisoning you." She ladled small portions into 3 bowls, adding a bit of rice to each. The cubs accepted them with a reverence usually reserved for religious ceremonies. The first bite was synchronized. 3 small mouths, 3 sets of eyes going wide, 3 simultaneous chirps of pure joy, then chaos. The cubs devoured the curry with an enthusiasm that would have alarmed any nutritionist. They made sounds Eden had never heard before, trills and purrs and happy growls that seemed to vibrate through the floor. "More," the eldest declared, holding up his empty bowl. "I want to live here forever," the middle one announced. The smallest had already climbed onto the counter, peering into the pot. "There is more, yes. This cannot be all." Riley was recording the whole thing on his cum device, grinning widely. Commander Thrakes is going to have questions. As if summoned by his name, the massive Carvel warrior appeared in the doorway. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in silver-striped fur with eyes that could freeze a supernova. Cubs, he rumbled. I have been searching. He stopped, nostrils flaring. His gaze moved from his children who had frozen mid-chew like guilty criminals to the humans, to the pot of curry, then back to his cubs. What, he said slowly, is that smell? The smallest cub swallowed her mouthful. Father, the humans made magic. It's not magic, Eden said quickly. It's just curry. I was cooking and your cubs wanted to try cooking. Thrakes tested the word. He approached the pot, sniffed, and his pupils dilated. This is ... food. Would you like to try some, Commander? Eden offered, already reaching for another bowl 15 minutes later. The communal kitchen contained one human chef, one amused human witness, 3 cubs who had declared themselves Eden's official taste-testing crew, and one massive warrior who was having what could only be described as a religious experience. In all my years, Thrakes said quietly, carefully setting down his third bowl, I never knew food could be ... This is just basic curry, Eden said. Wait until I make you proper biryani. The cubs cheered. Riley shook his head, still recording. You've just revolutionized Carvel culture with a pot of vegetables and spices. Eden smiled, already planning tomorrow's menu. Humans have been doing that for centuries. We call it dinner diplomacy. From that day forward, the cubs stationed themselves outside the kitchen whenever Eden's shift began, self-appointed guardians and taste testers of humanity's greatest weapon, home cooking, and Commander Thrakes. He began attending every meal, claiming it was to supervise his cubs, but everyone noticed how his eyes lit up when Eden announced a new recipe. Humanity, after all, conquered hearts through stomachs one bowl at a time. The end.